I'm here with Ben.
And I'm here with Ben.
And we got Kuz in the studio.
Hi. And we got Mikey in the back.
And this is the Ben and Ben Show. Today we got some new singles for you, and then right after that, we'll go into our Kuz review of this week's album, Live, Love, ASAP by A$AP Rocky. And then with the help of Peter Ng, we're going to review the album.
Yeah. Fuck that. Whoa. Fuck that bitch. I changed the plan. Switch my style.
Welcome to this week's episode. Today we got a lot of good singles for you. Some actually no, that I lied to you. Some of these singles aren't so good.
We've seen better singles.
We've had a better group.
Some of them are good. We'll get into this. We'll get into this.
Well, our first single, coming back from JPEG Mafia, he recently released his new album. One of the track, Bald Remix, is the last track on that album. And Ben, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was very good. I liked the intro that it had that kind of set up how the beat would work throughout the song. I like the sound effects. It has some like claps in there that I wasn't expecting. You know, I think it just sounds good.
So there's two versions of the song on the album. The just normal version called Bald is kind of just the intro all the way through the song. And that's why I think this song is better, because it adds a featured verse by Denzel Curry. And I think his verse is really good.
Yeah, I like
the bass that comes in on it is like really deep. Some speakers don't even like play it because it's just so deep.
You've beaten the system.
Yeah.
The bass is just...
no, I think his verse is pretty good and it adds a lot to the song. It's just a verse about, losses that have been in his life, most notably XXXTentacion.
Also, so you said this was the last song on the album?
Yeah.
Is the normal one like in the middle?
No, the normal one is actually like right before this one.
Oh, okay. Do they transition into one another? Because I feel like it's kind of an abrupt ending. But is it just...
That's just how the album ends. Yeah, I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
I gave Bald a 8 out of 10.
I also gave it an 8 out of 10.
Sweet.
I won't let him do me like y'all say. My mama say that I should pray, cause demon comes in different shapes. Oh, got that straight rats on my body, cause my reeds don't fuck with bait. All these bars that I be writing make it hard for you to relate. Hesitate, I rarely do, and fucking these hoes I barely
Next song up, we got Overpass Graffiti from Ed Sheeran's new album, Equals. He went through all the math symbols, finally got to equal sign.
Most of his albums have been math symbols, so maybe we'll see him kind of branch out from the normal addition, subtraction.
I don't think he's done minus yet.
Oh, okay.
Minus is gonna have to be a pretty bad album.
It's gonna cancel out.
Hemdas.
We haven't even talked about this single yet. But enough of shitting on Ed Sheeran.
No, Ed Sheeran, he's a decent guy as far as I know. I actually don't know much about him personally, so
well, I'm sure he's a good person, but I don't really like most of his music.
Yeah, speaking of which, there's not much to mention. That's why we're kind of avoiding it. It's kind of just a generic pop song. There's like a little a cappella part at like 3 minutes in, and I kind of like that, but other than that, it's pretty basic. It's pretty generic.
The only part I really liked was the bass is for some reason like turned up a couple knots on this song, and it really comes through, but at the beginning of the song it worked. So the only really part I liked about this song was the beginning of the song, and there was only one part of it. So
I'd say it's, at least from my perspective, there's more to like about this song than just the first part of it. I think that it's a decent song. It's just nothing that's too memorable. It's compared to what other stuff Ed Sheeran has done, it's not amazing. So,
and I gave this a 4.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. So.
never wanted to break it, leave us tainted. No, I should walk away, but I just can't replace us. You took off in the dead.
So next song is by Boone. The song name is The Hardest Cut. I think the guitar on here is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
I really like that. It kind of like between lyrics, it'll break out into this like rift, and then before it goes into the next lyric, I think that's pretty good. The vocals, he can sound kind of strained, but I do think like I've listened to a lot of Boone's other stuff, and that is kind of like the thing with them.
That's really the only comment I had was like, well, negative comment I should say, is that the vocals do at times get a little hard to listen to just because it's a little strained.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the last song on the Baby No Money, but it's not. Nowhere near as bad. But I think the guitar throughout the entire song is very impressive. There's a guitar solo that they just go like off on.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the guitar solo is too short. I feel like they cut it short and they could have had it better, but also that's kind of maybe what makes it good is like it's short, it leaves you wanting more. But
yeah, that's what she said.
Next song is
no, it's my turn. Next song, well, okay, hardest cut. Sorry, hardest cut. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I like this song. Yeah,
I actually gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't like totally blown away. I think Spoon definitely has a lot better stuff.
Yeah,
from it.
The hallelujah quite needs a score, and they're knocking at my door, smoking out the window.
Smoking Out the Window by Silk Sonic. Silk Sonic does not miss, and you can hold me to that. Silk Sonic does not miss.
We'll see about that when their album comes out.
When their album comes out, we'll see. I am very optimistic about it. I'm very excited about that album. But this song, I think, is really plays to their strengths. The duo Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, they both shine on this song. Their vocals are there, the harmonies are there. I really like the drums on this track even. And it's just, it all works together really well. Ben, what did you think?
I agree with all of that. You know, Bruno Mars, as always, is a very good singer. Anderson .Paak as well. Really, the only thing that I would say that's kind of bad about it is it does sound like a lot of what Bruno Mars has already done. So, but it's still really good. And I wouldn't take away too much for that. Right. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Very nice.
Know where I go, leave Earth many times as my clerks in Mar-a-Lago. Slap my work with embargo.
Next song is Yuri by Your Old Droog. Your Old Droog takes a lot of influence from MF Doom and has done a lot of songs with him. And I feel like if you like MF Doom, you'll probably like Your Old Droog, in that he's just kind of taking that sound that MF Doom had and bringing it into this newer era, almost.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
It's an innovation on what he had.
Yeah. And this song has good lyrics. It has a rock beat, which you don't see a whole lot in rap songs. And I think it's kind of one of the hardest genres to take and make a beat out of. So I think props to him for that. The only thing is, though, the song kind of will start and then just keeps going. It doesn't get like any less exciting or any more exciting. It's just kind of one idea throughout the like 2.5 minutes that it runs, and when it ends, it just kind of ends, and you're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah, a lot of what you said I had written down. Like it's good. It's got a rock beat, which is kind of unique. Well, not unique, but interesting. It has like a guitar in the background the entire time, and that kind of plays to what you said, how it's kind of monotonous after. Like it doesn't rise or fall. It's just the same thing for like the whole duration of the song. So it's good, but it kind of needs something else to grab my attention. But
I gave this a 6.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 7. But I have a 7.
I'm a boss now. Was a lost child. Now I got bank like a Rothschild. Took it off from silly.
Big love in a small house. Blue skies never run out.
Next up, we got Room for You from Madison Beer for the new Clifford, the Big Red Dog movie.
Live action.
It's live action, surprisingly.
How'd they get the dog acting?
That's a good question.
I can't wait to see.
But honestly, this song, I think it has 10 out of 10 vocals, 10 out of 10 instrumentation.
Mikey, look that up.
It's just how'd they
Where
get
is
the dog
Mikey
that
in this
big?
episode? Oh, right. Mikey's running from the IRS, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay. Goddamn government.
I don't think we're supposed to say that.
Okay. We'll cut that out.
Right, we'll cut that out.
Anyway.
But I think it's a perfect song actually, Ben. No. It's such a like Madison Beer, I don't know much about her.
Me neither.
It's just
I've never heard of her before.
But she is
really, but I feel like it's a very generic song. It's a weird, like, it kind of tries to be like an EDM song even, like where there's like these breaks where it's just like the piano riff, and it's so weird.
I would agree. It's like good vocals and everything. It was like all the like instrumentation was done right, but it's just not really that interesting of a song.
I will say I added it as a joke, but I was surprised at how much I didn't hate it. Like,
how could you hate Clifford? But
true.
Did they ever explain how Clifford the Big Red Dog exists? Like, I didn't really watch
no, there is a
just,
reason.
like,
there is a reason.
Well, did they
He
just,
used
like,
to be a
feed him
normal.
lot?
He used to be a normal.
Probably like
size
Martha
pup.
Speaks, where she ate some like alphabet soup, and then
He ate some
I need to brush up on my
anti-erection pills.
Clifford the Big Red Dog. More.
Wait,
Some anti-erection pills.
wouldn't it be the other way around?
I don't know why I said anti.
Also, since when have anti? Oh wait, no, those are probably a thing.
Probably. That's what
Yes,
they
they
say.
are.
They are. Yeah.
After it hasn't gone away after 4 hours, and you call the phone number.
I love how we're talking about Room for You, a song from Clifford the Big Red Dog, and somehow we're talking about anti-erection
And
pills.
since Clifford had already been fixed, the medicine went to the rest of his body.
But
No wonder how he actually got that big.
hold on, Mikey.
Mikey, pull that up. Mikey, pull that up.
Oh, did Clifford? We're gonna.
How did Clifford get that big?
Okay.
Oh,
we're looking this up.
it's because Emily Elizabeth loved him so much.
I thought it was love. Like, my guess would have been love. Oh, so the reason your dog isn't as big as a house is because you don't love it enough.
Yeah.
According to First for Women, while he was born a normal size, he grew so big because his owner loved him so much.
And why was he red?
Doesn't say. Okay. Anyways, the song, it fades out, and I'm like, why does it have to fade out? Like, some songs you can fade out in a good way, but this song, it fades out so unnaturally, and it just seems so cheesy. Oh yeah, some songs can fade out. The way that this song does it, I feel like it's just cheesy. It's weird. It's out of place. We're judging a children's movie song, so I don't know what
It doesn't really
I don't know what
matter,
we've come to. We're talking about anti-erection pills.
I'd give this a 5 out of 10 because it just wasn't like, it was just perfectly in that middle ground of not being really bad but not being all that good.
I also gave it a 5 out of 10.
Years pass and I won't leave. Honey knew that I always got room for you. Got room for you.
Our next song is One Right Now by Post Malone and The Weeknd. Big duo coming in here.
Big duo. Oh yeah.
I think the beat is good with a good mix of bass, trap beats, and instruments coming in.
Yeah, I like the bass riff throughout. Yeah, it's solid.
I mean, like, The Weeknd is a super good singer, so is Post Malone. And, like, they're kind of going off on this track.
I thought, the vocals are good. From what I took away from it, it's kind of on par with what The Weeknd's been doing recently, kind of that 80s.
Yeah.
Which I feel like you could argue it's a bit drawn out from him. But yeah, I don't think this song does a whole lot, like, that brings a ton to the table. It's a collaboration between Post Malone and The Weeknd. It's solid. I gave it a 7 out of 10.
I also gave it a 7 out of 10.
Boom. Alright, so now with the singles done, we're going to be going into our cruise review of A$AP Rocky's Live, Love, ASAP.
You should call me that, baby, a mess. But you dropped the bad, baby, true things. Maybe once just not enough. You say you love me, but I don't care.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Well, like, the curling club's more like a niche sport. Like, a lot of people don't actually know about it, even though we're only like 10 minutes away from the high school. And the curling club this year, I'm gonna try to maybe have 1 or 2 other Learn to Curl events, or if it's not, that's gonna work out, we'll just have the Learn to Curl event like on a practice. But our practices are Tuesday morning, Friday afternoon, and Sunday morning. Friday is going to be the best day because that's the most ice time. We have 2 hours after school on Friday, and you just come over to the curling club. We'll have time for a game. That'll probably be like the fun day, while opposed to other days only like an hour of ice time. This year we have a couple of events already lined up. Portage and Stevens Point have reached out to me and asked what teams we were able to play with, and we might be able to have matches with them. And then we also have a few Bonspiels we're going to, and Bonspiel is like a tournament for curling. And then we have the Madison Junior Bonspiel, which is the first one, which is in December. And there's a few other Bonspiels we can go to. They're like the Junior Bonspiels at Portage, Appleton, Green Bay, all around the area. And then we are already signed up for state, so we have a slot, I think, for boys and girls. And we just get into that Bonspiel to tournament. A lot of fun. The cool thing about junior curling is high school is a lot more getting people involved opposed to being competitive. Like, of course, state's competitive because it's state, but everything else is kind of just like, let's bring these people in here and let's get them together and have some fun. Kind of just what curling's about. Yeah, I'm Logan Aro, and you can find me on my Instagram at LoganAro16 or at the curling club Instagram, which is MG_curling club. And I'm going to be posting there regularly about updates, about practices, about myself and other people in the curling club.
Well, thank you to Logan Aro from the curling club. Make sure to come out. I swear to God, it's going to be the best varsity sport at this school by the end of the year. So yeah.
And you can quote us on that.
You can quote us on that. All right. Well, cool. Thank you, Logan, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So, this is Eli Kuzma coming in with a Kuz review for you all. This week's album is Long Live ASAP by himself, A$AP Rocky. I don't really listen to rap at all, and I have seen this album. And I was able to recognize it. It's the image of A$AP Rocky in front of the American flag, doing the French inhale. First jumped out at me. I've seen both the black and white and the color version of this. And what first jumped out at me when I was doing research, the photographer's name who did this photo is Brock Fetch. And he's worked with a lot of hip-hop artists in the early 2010s. In an interview where he was asked, kind of the story behind this photo, it was not in a studio at all. A$AP did not go anywhere to do this. This was literally, he said it was an apartment with no furniture but 2 couches and like 2 guys playing Xbox in the corner. And he just kind of kept taking pictures until he got one. And that's how we have this album cover. And I'm not quite sure, he shoots in both film and Polaroid, but if you look at his work, it actually reminded me of a early 20th century photographer called, his name is Jacob Riis, and he's originally from Denmark. But what he did, because the flash bulb with flash powder was invented in 1899, and he had just basically come to America, and his whole deal was he would go to the slums, the tenements in New York City, and he would use this new technology at the time. At the time it was a powder that would be ignited, and it would create this flash, and he would capture these images of just so much raw, just life, in the city. It's very authentic. It's where his message was, and honestly, if you look at the tone, and especially since the album cover is in black and white, it really just does evoke this same mood, this same tone. So if you want to look up Jacob Riis, that's Jacob, Jacob, and then the last name is spelled Riis, you'll see some really, really, at the time, very novel work, and I think it's very reminiscent of Brock Fetch's work. Yeah, that's all I got for you today. Honestly, since it's such an iconic album cover, I would rate this album cover like a good 7 or 8 out of 10. And it's a great image. This is Kuz Review signing off. Okay, so in retrospect and after reviewing the footage, so it is not our Long Live ASAP as I had originally said, but Live Love ASAP. So that is, my apology video. Like and subscribe.
God damn, how real is this? I know them whole niggas gon' be feeling this.
For our fourth episode, we have a very special guest, Peter Ng. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
Really glad to have you.
Yeah, glad to have you. So, Peter, when it comes to music, what do you like?
I like all music if it's good, you know. I listen to a lot of hip-hop rap music because, I don't know, it's interesting and there's a lot of, it's like an expanding genre, you know, everything's changing.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy my old, like, rock music, 80s type stuff. But, you know, really anything, I'll listen to it as long as it's good.
Any favorite artists?
You know, I'm a big fan of Kanye, but everyone is, I feel like.
Hey, Kanye's pretty good. Well, moving right into our album, Live, Love, ASAP. What were some of your guys' favorite tracks?
I enjoyed the opening track, Palace, a lot. I thought Peso was good, and Sandman was also interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Palace, I think it does a really good job opening up the album. Like, it has this, like, background choir with it, kind of gives it a grand sound, grand feel, and I really like how he used that throughout.
Houston, Old Head, Brand New Guy, and Keep It G were probably some of my top tracks off the album. But Sandman, I thought a pretty good closer for the album.
And that was a new track as well, right?
Yeah, on the original album, because this is a re-release, it had a different outro. That was cut for this release, and Sandman is its replacement. Yeah, I think we all like Peso. I thought the beat was pretty good. It kind of breaks into something pretty cool. The chorus on it is good. Its unique use of like chimes in its beat was pretty good, and like relatively interesting lyrics throughout the whole song.
I thought the chorus, the guy sounded a lot like the guy from Coldplay, Chris Martin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it sounded similar, and I actually checked. I don't think it is, but I was like, oh my god.
I didn't notice that.
Maybe it's just
It's
me.
an interesting, yeah, I'll have to go back and listen to that.
Another thing I noticed is they had like a kind of a reggae singer type person.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's becoming like more and more popular in rap music today. I enjoy it for one.
And I mean, this song too came out like 10 years ago, and I think this album like really pioneered a lot of stuff that was coming out. It's been around for a while. It's just we've seen it kind of grow ever since this era that this album came out in.
Other than a couple songs, I don't think you'd really be able to tell that it came out 10 years ago. There are some effects that are used, and I'm like, that's a pretty basic thing to use that people used 10 years ago.
I did not know this album came out 10 years ago.
Yeah, this is a re-release of one of his first mixtapes, and it has not been available on any streaming services until a couple days ago. That's pretty much what this album is about.
He just released it for the 10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah, and with some notable changes. On the original, the last two songs were Out of This World and Kissin' Pink, and those two were replaced by Sandman as the outro tracks. And the original album cover was in black and white, and now this one is in color. And those are like the big changes.
That is kind of crazy because I was like listening to the whole thing thinking it was like a new release, and I was like, this is pretty good. It really impressed me that it came out 10 years ago. It's like ahead of its time.
I mean, yeah, when I listened to it at first, I thought it was just like a new release from A$AP Rocky. Then like I started doing research for the episode, and I was like, oh, okay, this is from a while ago.
So I guess that just shows you how like innovative he was, kind of leading the genre.
Yeah.
New techniques and stuff. So
I think a lot of stuff in this album that we hear that sounds really repetitive, that's like used all the time today. When this was released 10 years ago, he was pioneering that sound. And so I think that's why this is a pretty important mixtape for A$AP Rocky.
I will say some of the stuff he does gets kind of repetitive. Like some of the songs in the middle there.
I used a lot of like when you just like pitch down the voice and
the deep voice.
I did not like that.
That's all over the place in this one.
Yeah. It's used too much. Tyler the Creator, his new album has a voice that'll come out on all the songs throughout the album, and I think that's used pretty well. But just for some reason on this mixtape, it's just not used very well, and it gets kind of annoying and overbearing at times.
Because like the first couple songs, you can take it, and then it's like, oh, he's still doing this. How about we just move away from that? But then again, you know, it was something new at the time, probably, or newer.
And speaking of being new at the time, I know before we started recording this, we were talking about the song "Bass" and how it had that sound that sounded really old. Peter, do you want to kind of talk about that?
Yeah. So the sound we're talking about is 009 Sound System Dreamscape by Trance. And if that doesn't sound familiar, that's because
we'll play it over.
But you may know it for old YouTube tutorial vids. It's quite iconic. Once you hear it, you know it. But yeah, the song "Bass" has a similar sound in the beat, and it's
you can't once you hear it, you can't
unhear it.
Yeah, because I hadn't thought of that until Peter showed me, and now it was so accurate that I can't.
That's a lot about songs we like. What about songs you guys just didn't like off this album?
There was one song that I did not like at all, and it was Acid Drip.
Yep.
It was pretty boring. The chorus for me was really weird. It was like a mix of speaking, singing that he was kind of going for. It kind of just seemed creepy to me. I did not really like that song. I think it's only like 2 minutes or something, but it's still just a bad song. I did not like that song.
Yeah, I agree. The beat isn't really all that great or noticeable, so it doesn't help the song at all. And then I agree, his voice is just not really working.
I didn't have any that I really disliked. I didn't listen to it super intensely, but I thought there was a few good songs and a lot of alright songs.
Yeah, I'd agree, because like most of this album is alright songs with some good songs mixed in.
Another song that I didn't find too interesting was Leaf. It's one of the longer songs in the album, and I feel like it kind of just dragged on. It wasn't really introducing any new ideas. It was kind of just the same thing for the whole 5 minutes.
I had Leaf written down as one of my songs I enjoyed, actually, but I think the beat on it, a lot of the production on this album is very nice. I think they did a good job at that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just enjoyed the sound of that one.
Yeah, I agree with Peter in that Leaf, I think, has a good beat. Speaking of production, Kelvin Crash does most of the production for this album, and I think he does a really good job. For a first mixtape and everything, I mean, you can, like you said, you can hardly tell.
Yeah. Just a couple things that he uses are, like Peter, like was like 2010, well. 2011-esque, Other than Leaf and Acid Drip, I didn't think that there were really any bad songs on this album. Like Peter said, it was just a lot of alright songs with a batch of really good songs. And
when it comes to albums, I never like that unless there's like a really awful song that like sounds bad. I always think like if there's good songs and songs that maybe aren't your favorite, I think of it as a good album. I tend to look at the good parts as opposed to the parts I don't enjoy as much.
Yeah, no, that's a super good way of looking at it. I think when you're trying to look at an album overall, you do have to kind of remember the worst parts of it. But like when you're just like listening to music casually, like if you just get caught up on like the bad songs, well, you don't have to listen to the bad songs.
Yeah, it's such a pessimistic way of like, like if an album gives you songs that you really love and you want to listen to, then it shouldn't be just disregarded because there's like a couple bad ones. But like you said, they're not necessarily bad songs on here. It's just a bunch of alright ones. Another song that I actually really liked was Keep It G. It sampled another song like for the saxophone in there, and I really liked how that worked with the bass. It worked really well together.
Yeah, I agree that Keep It G was probably one of my top tracks off this album. There's this open verse that was like spoken. I think that's what was sampled.
Okay.
And then there's two features from like really small artists I'd never heard of called Chase Infinite and Space Ghost Perp, and I think they both do a pretty good job here. And then just a jazzy beat throughout the whole song kind of ties it all together.
So it was the instrumental that was sampled. But I'm sure the spoken was...
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have Mikey look at that.
Post-processing Ben here to say that it was just the instrumental that was sampled.
I enjoyed the song Demons, and when I listened to that one, I thought just the way he sounded really reminded me of Lil Wayne. And now that I know that it came out 10 years ago, that makes it more interesting because I think Lil Wayne was like one of the pioneers of the hip-hop music during the 2010s, and I really enjoy his music. And then I listened to like a lot of the other songs, and just like the way A$AP Rocky, like his lyrics and the way he kind of interpolates his voice, and like I don't know how to say it.
How he kind of like expresses his meaning through lyrics.
And just overall his sounds a lot like Lil Wayne. I thought that was interesting.
I feel like Demons is the most real song on the album. Like, because like you said, he uses these different ways to like distort his voice. But I feel like Demons, while I think he still does that a little bit, but it's more real to me. It seems like it's more introspective, more him just kind of putting it out there. Trying to put on a show.
I think my last like really good song off this album would be Trilla, mainly because I think the beat mixed with the like this really greasy guitar licks that it has throughout it kind of works for a really smooth beat that A$AP Rocky and his features do verses really well over it. It's not like a totally blowout song, but I think it just works. All ties in very nicely together.
There's something about like just even the bass drum in that song that I feel like it's so satisfying to listen to. Like I don't know what or like how he did that, but it's just different. It sounds sounds like raw, and it's just really satisfying to listen to. I don't know why I picked up on it, but kind of gives like a Western vibe almost. Like with the guitar, but
yeah, no, I totally.
I think it works really well together.
I think all the songs on this album just give you kind of like you can paint a picture in your mind, or just like
it's good at painting a picture.
Yeah, they're very atmospheric songs.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Let's see if they actually sampled the 2011.
Yeah, I was surprised at how like there's bass in the song bass, but it's not as in your face as as I thought it would be.
Yeah, on a song about bass, there's not a whole lot of bass.
It's not. Oh, yeah, disappointing. Just like how there's not as much bass as I'd like in the song bass, but
the song is just disappointing.
No, it's a good song.
Yeah,
it's okay. But now that Peter has said the YouTube thing, it's kind of tainted. All right, so then finally the closer, Sandman, the new song that he released, the new closer. I really like this, and he's singing he's speaking in French for the chorus as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he says he kind of mispronounces it, so it's kind of, like I had to look it up, like what is he saying here? And apparently it's in French. But he's saying "Merci beaucoup," just like Moulin Rouge.
Merci beaucoup, just like Moulin Rouge.
Which is, thank you very much. And then he also says later in the chorus, "Voulez-vous coucher for eternity?"
I say, "Voulez-vous coucher for eternity?"
Which is, do you want to sleep for eternity? So I thought it was just interesting how he has French on that compared to the rest of the album, which I think is all just English. But I really like the melody that he has there. It was stuck in my head for a while. So
yeah, I agree. It's a good trap beat, good flow. I really like the chorus on it. I think multiple times throughout the album he shows that he, as well as being a good rapper, he's a good singer.
Yeah,
and I think he does that on the chorus as well. And then it's a good outro for the album. Even though a lot of people were upset that he replaced the original outro, and I guess I don't really have much to say on the original outro, but I think this works for what we have here.
I enjoyed Sandman as well. I think, at 2011, I think not a lot of rappers at the time would have put French in their songs.
Yeah.
So,
well, this was a new one.
Well, I think actually,
yeah,
this song was actually originally like an untitled track that he never put on the.
Oh, okay, then I'm wrong. Yeah,
I should have specified that this song, Sandman, was originally a song that was untitled and never put on the original album.
Okay, so it's not new. It's just. Like
it's
unreleased.
New for this album,
okay.
Unreleased, that sort of thing.
Okay, then yeah.
So yeah,
sorry.
well, Peter,
you were what you were saying was valid.
I'm glad he actually put it on this one then, because if he didn't put it on the last one, then, I think it's cool that he put it on.
Yeah, I haven't heard
this one 10 years later.
I haven't heard the other outro songs, but I do think that this is a really nice outro for the album, and even the outro of the song itself really works well. So I think it does a good job. So overall, Peter, what do you think of this album?
I thought it was good, not great, but good. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I think the songs like that I really enjoyed, like Palace and Peso, and those are just really catchy and like really get you going.
I have to agree that it's good, but not great. It's probably not something I like return to for the album, but there's definitely songs on it that I'll return to, like Houston Old Head and Trilla. Overall, I'd probably give this like a 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, probably like for the same reasons. There's a lot of good songs, nothing too amazing. Songs like Sandman or Trilla or like Keep It G, I think those might be ones that I come back to, but other than that, not too much.
A couple of these actually made the playlist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Same for me too.
The highest honor you can receive in music is Peter Ing's playlists.
Damn.
Yeah, wow, that is an honor. That's not the Thanos one. Oh, no. That's a different one.
Completely different.
Sorry. All right, well, thank you, Peter.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It was an honor to have you on.
Yes.
Well, this has been the Ben and Ben Show. See ya next time.
Bye.
All right.
This is what I found out. Life is just a bitch is like a hoe. Hoes want the money, and money come and goes. Friends turn to foes, and foes they be fake.